Hi everyone, it's Jen from Gingerbell Designs. Today I am going to do a tutorial of this fun little landscape album that I am going to be using Simple Stories, Say Cheese, Classic Mouse. This was my Country Craft Creations recent design team package. So if you watched my sneak peeks and my design team haul video, you already know what this paper is all about. So nostalgic. Old Mickey, absolutely love it. Love the primary colors. So this album is a 9 3/4 by 6, and it is done in the lay flat method, which I have linked below for you. And the pieces that you will need to do the lay flat method with this are 2 pieces of heavyweight chipboard at 9 3/4 by 6, and 1 at 2 by 6 for the spine. I have used black artisan to wrap the chipboard, and those pieces are 11 3/4 by 8 for these two, so you'll need 2, and then a 5 by 8 for your spine wrap. And I am going to have 4 signatures with 3/8 inch spaces. Jen can't talk today. So we're going to make the spine piece that's going to go in the middle to hold our pages that will look something like this when you're done. This is my little mock-up using really bad paper. As you can see, it's all torn. So I am going to start with a 10 by 5 7/8 inch piece of the artisan. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to score this at 2. And I think I'm going to flip this because I want to make sure this is on the bottom where I wrote on it. Again, that is 10 by 5 7/8. So I'm going to turn this over and I am going to score at 2, 2 3/8, 2 7/8, 3 3/8, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/8, 5 5/8, 6 1/8, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, and 7 7/8. Okay, and that's going to give you 2 inches on either end and the spaces that we need in the middle. Okay, now what you want to do is turn it. This is what you'll have. You're going to want to turn this, and at all of those 1/2 inch spaces, just start readying your paper to be folded. And I like to go through and fold all of the score lines between the halves first. You can do this however you like. That is just my method. I will straighten everything out later. I just like to get the paper started. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back down. And I am simply going to pop these up like tents. And I've just put lotion on, so of course, you know, my hands are slick. All right. I'm not doing a hard burnish just yet. I'm just lining everything up, grabbing a hold of the tops of those 1/2 inch spaces, and just kind of folding them over and back. And sometimes it's easier said than done. This is a tricky way to do this. I'm sure there's probably an easier way, but I haven't learned it yet. I just want to try to get these all lined up because they need to be nice and straight in order for our pages to adhere nicely to them. All right. So that's what we have. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 1/4 inch score tape, and I am going to go in and I'm going to put score tape on the right 1/2 inch side of each. So just the right All right. Got that done. Now I am going to pull my scoreboard out of here so that I can go in and push down all that, burnish all that score tape nicely. And then one at a time, I'm going to peel these off. For me, I would normally just peel them all off and do it, but in order to show you, it's better. I'm going to grab glue, and on the left side of the 1/2 inch area, I'm going to add some glue, and I'm going to fold this over, making sure everything lines up nicely. Give that a good burnish. Then you can fold back and give that a nice burnish. And then on to the next one. Add my glue to the left side. And we'll fold that one over. And as you go along, it will get a little bit more resistant because you are folding on lines that we didn't previously fold. So if you want to, you can fold these before, just get them going. Like I did the 1/2 inch spaces, you can do it with the 1/4 inch. I just did not. Add my glue. And just make sure you're only folding the 1/2 inch. You don't want to adhere your 3/8 inch space to where that glue is. And just as you go, you're just going to keep straightening this out. And we got one more here. And I add the glue just because I only use 1/4 inch instead of 1/2 inch. And I just want that little extra security, knowing that it's going to stick. I got a little bit of glue that time. That was the first time. All right, give this a good burnish. All right, then flip it over. And the first score line that you see here is basically just a guide. It's not something that is a necessity. You don't even really have to do it. I just choose to. I'm going to grab my scoreboard just so that I can line everything up. And we're going to put this in the book. So pull your book out. I have my cover marked, my back marked. This is going to sit right in here, about 1/8 of an inch from the top and about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And like I was saying, those first score lines that we did are basically just a guide to show you where you need to line it up with your book on those, where the spine meets the cover and the back. So I am adding glue to this. You can also do this with a score tape sheet or score tape. I am just going to use glue. It works for me just fine. All right, so when I put this down, I'm going to start on one side because I want to line up my mark, top and bottom, that score line that we made. And then I want to make sure that I have about the same amount of space from the top to the bottom. This is not going to go on I don't want it to go on crooked. I want the same spacing at the top and the bottom. All right, then you can start your burnishing. And I like to use my finger first to get these started because they will resist you. They don't like to lay down when they're folded like this. So I am going to go in, I'm going to push these two over first. And then I'm going to push these two over. See how it wants to resist me? You don't want that. You want it to do what it's supposed to do and lay down, and mine is trying to be difficult. So I'm going to take this bone folder and go in between all of them. And burnish. So we're going to move into the signatures. We will start with signature 1, okay? And I did a little mock-up using pink paper, so you'll see this pink paper throughout. This is a pocket page, so we will have a pocket off to the side. This will pull out like so, and then we are going to have some stacked pockets on the back side. So for signature 1, this is going to be a pocket page. You will need a 9.5 by 12 inch piece of paper. Technically it goes this way, so it's a 12 by 9.5. Okay, I'm going to put this in our scoreboard at the with the 9.5 at the top. You're going to score it half, and you're going to score it 3/4. Then you want to switch it to the 12 being across the top, and we're going to score it half, and we're going to score it 6.25. Okay, so this is what you will have. Now I'm going to grab my other one. We're going to do some mirroring as far as pages. So we'll have 2 pages alike and 2 other pages alike, but they will be every other one. So this is where we want to end up. Okay, just remembering where I did my cutting. All right, so what you need to do now is we're going to grab scissors. And we are going to cut this at the top here of the 9.5. I'm going to cut all of this top corner out. You do not need this, if I'm correct. I am just double checking my work. Yes, we're going to cut this whole square out here. It's more like a rectangle, but just go ahead and cut that all out of there. And that's going to leave you this, okay? Then what you need to do is you need to put this back in your scoreboard at that 9.5, and you want to score this again at a 1/4 inch really quickly, just down to that first score line. So just down to there, okay? And we want to cut that 1/4 inch extra completely off. You do not need this. So cut on the score line all the way down and cut this out. And we will do some mitering here in just a moment. All right, so now this is what you have, okay? For this line here, so you have your 9.5 still, this side one here, you need to cut up to that first line, and we're just gonna go ahead and miter that as well. And I'm looking at what I did here. Yes, this goes on our page, so I didn't quite get enough of that out. You don't need to miter this side, just this side. This is going on our page. This is going to come down here, okay? So then we're going to go ahead and miter these top 2 up here. I didn't do a very good job there. All right. So now what you have is this. We're going to go ahead and miter this top area here as well. And never mind that line where I earlier, I scored the wrong spot. So this is what you will have. Okay. So go ahead and we are going to fold these score lines down on the top portion. And just check and see if we need to do any more mitering. I don't want these to overlap, so I'm going to go ahead and miter this corner just a little bit more. I do not want these to touch each other, and they don't now, so that's good. Okay. So you just need to get those nice and burnished, those top 2 gussets, okay? And then we're going to fold this down, just like so. Line everything up, glue to those 2 gussets. So the top, I'm making a mess with my glue, as I always do, and that side gusset. Okay? And then I really want to pull mine up to the top of this because you want to make sure you're to the left of your 1/4 inch score line over here, and that you are all the way up to the top of the other score line. Score line? Top of the page. All right, there we go. So this, I got glue everywhere. This is what you will have. You will have your pocket and then your 1/4 inch give space on this side. I'm gonna do a little more burnishing here. I want to fold my give space back so that I can get a good fold there. This is what's going to attach to our gusset. Okay, so now we're going to make the flap that goes on the front, which is this little guy here. Okay, so for the flap, we can put that on without having to decorate first. Some of the stuff I won't be able to put glue down until I decorate. So for this, you're going to have a 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. So 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. This is going to go across your scoreboard at the 9 1/4, and we're going to score this at 1/2 and at 5. Okay. This portion is going to fold under. Just want to line that all up, make sure everything is straight. Then you can burnish. Go ahead and fold back your 1/2 inch. And then we're going to miter the sides of that. So both the edges here of our 1/2 inch need to be mitered. And then we are going to add a little pocket to this. So for the pocket, you're going to have a 2 1/2 by 6 1/4. Going to put this in our scoreboard, and we are going to score this at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So at the 2 1/2, you're going to score at 1/2, and at both ends of the 6 1/4, you're going to score at 1/2. Okay, and then we're just going to miter those bottoms at the cross section, and then also miter the tops. And I'm going to turn mine in so that I don't see that writing. I did kind of write big there, so I'm afraid that it wouldn't cover very well with paper enough. And you can notch this pocket if you like with a notch punch or other item. I did not notch mine, but you can. And mine is a little off because I flipped it that way, I think. I'm going to go ahead and flip it back the other way and deal with the writing because mine is not fitting this way. Sometimes our scoreboards and our cutting don't always line up, which is what was happening to me. And my pocket is just a little bit long, but that's all right. It's totally fine. I'm going to add glue to all of my gussets because I can decorate. When you have a gusseted pocket, you can put your pockets on and slide paper in when you decorate, and it works just fine. So we're just going to line this up on here. And like, all right, so there's our flap. Bring your page back in and make sure you are on the side with your pocket opening over here. And this is really puckery. I don't know what is going on there. I'm going to add glue just to that 1/2-inch flap that we made, or the 1/2-inch gusset. And then we're just going to bring this in. Oh, I did that backwards. Goodness gracious me. It is not my day today. I'm off camera here, just wiping off the glue. I need this to fold back first. And then we will add our glue. So it's folded over. So you have this like so, and then you have your gusset. Easy to fix. Gonna add my glue here. And then I'm just gonna kind of eyeball the middle. Should have about 1/4 inch on top and 1/4 inch on bottom of that flap. And I do. Go in, I'm gonna make sure everything opens, and it does. All right. There's our side A. I'm gonna flip this over so that your opening is on the left, and that's where our stacked pockets will go. So our stacked first pocket, we have 3 of these. So the first one is going to be 3.5 by 6 3/4. So again, that's 3.5 by 6 3/4. I'm gonna put this in the scoreboard at the 6 3/4, and we are gonna score it half, turn, score it half, and turn again and score it half. So that's our first pocket. I'm going to go ahead and miter at the cross section where we scored, and then miter the tops as well, so that you have this. Okay? You just want to fold, especially these two, before you do anything. Fold your 2 sides and make sure that they fit. Like, you don't want to have an accident like I just had. And mine do, so that works. Okay. Go ahead and fold that bottom one. And you can burnish. Okay. Now this one is going to be our base pocket. My flap is getting stuck back here. So we just want to add glue to all 3 of those tabs. And then I'm going to use my scoreboard. Make sure I'm in frame here so you can see. I like to do this so that I make sure that everything lines up before it sticks all the way down. I want this pushed all the way up there so that everything is in line. And then I can do all of my burnishing. By putting it in my scoreboard, I know that it's on here a lot straighter than it would be if I tried to do it by hand, because I don't have the greatest eye for that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go in and give this a really good burnish where those are. And make sure that you check the back for glue seepage, because this is our pocket. So you want to make sure that there's no glue gluing your pocket shut. So that is stacked pocket 1. The second one, which is our middle one, is going to be 3 inches by 6 3/4. So we're just going down 1/2 inch each time. The first one was 3.5. This one is 3 by 6 3/4. We're going to do the same thing pretty much. So for this one, you want to go in with the 6 3/4, score it half, turn it all the way around 6 3/4 and score it half again. The difference here is for this one, we just want a 1/2 inch mark at the bottom down here so that we can see. We don't want to put a whole 1/2 inch all the way across. You can, but you may see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scoreboard here. I'm going to put a 1/2 inch mark just up to that first line, which makes this little square. And I'm going to find it down here lightly. So as you can see, hopefully with the black, you can see this. Let me grab a white pin. Sometimes that helps visually. So you can see that line I made. So see here, this was our 1/2 inch score line. I just did it to that line on both ends. And we are simply going to cut those squares out. You do not need those. And then we will miter. And miter your tops as well. And this is what you will have. Okay, fold down the 2 sides. And bring your page back in. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish the 2 side tabs. And we're going to dry fit this first before we do any gluing. You want this to slide in to that last pocket and go right to the top of it so that it's at the edge of where we just put the last pieces, okay? So you're just going to add glue to those 2 side tabs. We're going to slide that up to where we made that score line. And a little trick I like to do is I will take my ruler and make sure that mine are the same, and they are. And then I can burnish. And the idea behind these stacked pockets, if you don't already know, is so that you can put something in here, you can put something and it goes all the way down. Now, our last one is 2.5 by 6 3/4. Okay, this one we're going to do the same thing we just did with that one. We're going to put it at 6 3/4. We're going to score it half, turn it all the way around, score it half, and then we're going to put it in and we're going to score at 2. Find that 2 down here, which is our 1/2 inch mark, and then we're going to cut those squares out. And then we will, of course, do our mitering as soon as done, just like the last one was. You kind of get a little invisible line with doing it this way so that you can see where your pocket should meet the last one. Okay, if that makes sense. All right, I'm going to fold mine over. And I am going to double check my fit. That looks pretty good. And you could leave it at 2 as well, to be honest. I mean, it just depends on your preference. You could put just 1 pocket. You could put 2. You could do the 3 like I'm doing. It is all a matter of preference. All right, let's Make sure these are lining up. And they're pretty. Let's see here, put this like this. Yep, all right. We are good. And these also you can decorate by just sliding them into the pocket. So that's why I was able to do it that way. And these, again, you can notch these as well. But that is signature 1 in the books and done. All right, so moving on to signature 2. This one is not a pocket page. And I'm going to pull out my little guide here. So what you're going to have for your base, let me just pull this out of here, of signature 2 is going to be a 12 by 5 3/4. And my camera is a little askew here. Let's fix that. Make sure you can see everything. So again, that's 12 by 5 3/4. And this is what this one will look like. So on side A, we're going to have a magnet here. We're going to have a flap and a flap. And I will probably put a pocket below here when I decorate. So we'll go ahead and make one of those. And then on the back side, there's going to be a tuck pocket. I do believe is what I was doing. No. Is that correct? Yes, there's going to be a tuck pocket here that we're going to actually, it's not going to be a tuck. It's going to be an actual pocket. That's what it was. I switched it after I wrote that. So I'm going to put gussets on this. We're going to have a waterfall that goes this way, and then we will put a photo mat in that pocket, and it's going to hold our waterfall down. So let's start with the base. Put your 12-inch by 5 3/4 in your scoreboard with the 12 across the top. And we are going to score this at 1/2 and at 3/4. And then we're going to score at 9.5. Okay. Whoa, something probably not good to have a paper clip. That almost ripped my paper. So 9.5. Now that last 2.5 inches is going to fold back, and that's going to be that pocket. Okay. So we're going to work on this side first. Just want to burnish that down. So for our flaps, we're going to start with the larger one. And that is going to be 6 1/4 by 5 3/4. Okay. We're going to put that in our scoreboard at 6 1/4, and we are going to score a 1/2. But I'm going to do my 1/2 on the right side because this is going in the right side of my book. So in order to do that, I'm going to score at 5 3/4. Okay. And I don't need to do any mitering on this one because it is the same height as our page. Hopefully, when I dry fit this, it will fit perfectly. We shall see. I'm going to put my page in here, and I'm going to line this up and make sure. And look at that, it does. Great. So just go ahead and add glue to that 1/2 inch. And I'm going to pick mine up. And now that I know that it matches, I'm just going to line that up with the right side of my page. Okay. And burnish that. Should fit perfectly. If you have any overhang, you can always trim. Flip that over. Give that a nice burnish. And then for your smaller flap, it is 5 3/4 by 5 1/2. This one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put it in at that 5 3/4. This time we can just score at a 1/2 on the left side because this is our left side flap. This one I'm going to miter because it's not the same length as my page. So I am simply going to miter on both sides of my score line. Just a little, not a whole lot. And then I'm going to fold that over and burnish. Bring our page back in. Make sure you're on the side where your score lines are, and we want this to go in the middle on the right, or excuse me, the left side. And I just want to eyeball this to the center. I should have 1/4 of an inch at the top and 1/4 of an inch at the bottom, or pretty close to that. And mine is probably not exact, but it's very, very close. And you don't want to go over your 1/4 inch give space line, but right up to it. So if you can see, this is our 1/2 inch and this is our little 1/4 inch. All right, now for this portion, we are going to put a magnet in here. And grab my magnets. So I have the basic gray small magnets. I am going to grab a plus and a minus. And I'm just going to snap those together. Whoa. And they're going to go flying. So I want to put, I'm going to open up my smaller flap. And I'm going to peel the backing off of one side. It doesn't really matter, plus or minus. And I'm going to put it kind of off. I want about 1 inch away from the edge because we want to be able to put paper on here. And you can imagine that if you don't have that, now you can put this all the way to the bottom, or you can put it on this flap. And I'm trying to decide what works best. If we put it here, it's going to pull them all in. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to put it down underneath, I think. Let me just get this sticky stuff off of here. You can do it either way. I'm actually going to just put it on the flap. So you want to bring this in and fold your, burnish your flap down so that this is nice and straight. And when we have paper on there, let me think here. No, I think I need to do it the other way. So I'm going to carefully peel that off. Put that back on there, and I'm going to open the large flap, and I'm simply going to put this down like so, and you'll see the difference. So when I put this down, now when I put that down, it all lays a little flatter, okay? So that's where your magnets are going to go, and you'll cover those in paper. Flip to the other side so that your score lines are over here and that little pocket is here. Now what I have is two 1 by 2.5 inch pieces of the paper. This was just scraps, and I want to go in with these and score them at 1/2 inch because I'm going to make gussets out of these for that little pocket. Just do the same with both. Score them right down the middle, and then we're going to fold, and I am going to burnish, and you may have to trim these once you get them on that pocket too. It happens. As long as you have them, they're just going to make it so we can fit something a little larger in our pocket. So go ahead and put the first one. Actually, I didn't need to, you don't have to miter both sides. I just did. So I'm going to add glue to this bottom portion of that gusset. And I'm going to hold my pocket and push it up to the top of my scoreboard and then put this on there just so I know that I am right at the edge of my paper, but I'm not going over my paper. And then I'm going to give that a really good burnish. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. We just want to put glue on one side for now, like so. And then I'm going to go into my scoreboard. I'm going to hold this up and push that right up in there. Make sure everything closes, and it does. And I can burnish. Get rid of any excess glue. Now what you can do is simply grab your glue, add it to those other side of those tabs that's sticking up, and fold over your pocket. And burnish that really, really well. And that's going to give us our pocket so that when we put our waterfall down, we can slide a photo mat. When we decorate, we can slide a photo mat in there, and it's going to hold our waterfall down. So that is that portion of the signature 2. Now we're going to make the waterfall. And you will make 2 of these. You'll need one for signature 4 as well. So what you have here, I did not mark these, so I'm going to have to tell you. You have a 9.5 by 5 1/4. So 9.5, 5 1/4. 8.5 by 5 1/4. And 4.5 by 5 1/4, or 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay. So this is going to make our waterfall so that we have 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay. So for the 2 larger pieces, start with the 9.5 across the top. We are going to simply score this at 3 3/4. Flip it around, and we're going to score it at 3 3/4. So both sides. Okay. The 8.5 inch piece, we're going to do the exact same thing. So 3 3/4. Flip it around, 3 3/4. Okay. And then our smaller piece, you're going to put this in at 4 1/4 and just simply score at 3 3/4. And I'm double checking to make sure that gave me a half, and it did. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to put the larger one in my scoreboard, and that brings us up to that 3 3/4 mark. I'm going to take my first, the 8.5 inch piece. I want to make sure everything lines up nicely. Burnish. I'm folding on one side. So this is what you'll have. You'll have your line here. We're going to put glue in that 1 inch space there. Actually, I think is it 1? Yeah, it's 1 inch. My glue is not wanting to cooperate today. So we're going to glue this up real good. And what you want to do is go over a 1/2 inch. So we're going to go to that 4 1/4 and line everything up. And I put quite a lot of glue on mine, so it's probably going to do some seeping. And that's fine. I want it to stick. Okay, and then just leave that open and put it in there like so. Then you're going to grab your smallest one, which was our 4 1/4, and we want to fold this one over as well, that 1/2 inch, and we're going to burnish. Okay, and then add glue to that 1/2 inch. And we're just going to simply put this one in at 4 and... I think I did that backwards. I did do that backwards. That's all right. We'll put it in at 4 1/4 and it'll be fine. 4 1/4. Sorry, 4 3/4. Jeez, Jen can't count today. All right. Normally it would go the other way and this would go on top of the last piece, but I did it backwards. But that's all right. It works. You still have your 1/2 inch here and your 1/2 inch here, I think. Did I do that right? Yes. Okay. What I need to do is just reinforce the score line there. Fold this one back. Because I had done it backwards. We'll do the other one correctly. This works too, but it works easier if you line it up the way it's technically supposed to be lined up. All right, so you should have 1/2 inch spaces between all of these. I'm going to go ahead and fold that last one over. And there we go. We have our waterfall. Now you can round these, you can leave them flat, however you want to do it, but these will go. So we have our pocket on this side of the page. These are going to go right in here, and then we'll have, like I said, a photo mat that holds these closed. And I am not going to glue this because I do need to do my decorating first. But that is where it will go, and you will glue only this area here. Okay, so the next one that we do that on is signature 4, and I will make sure that the waterfall, I show you the difference there so that you know what I did there. All right, so we are done with signature 2. I'm just going to put it in here, and we will move on to signature 3, which is our other pocket page, and stacked pockets on the reverse side. So again, we are mirroring, Jen cannot talk, what we did on signature 1. So again, you're going to have your 12-inch by 9.5 inch. We're going to put this in our scoreboard at the 9.5 at the top. We are going to score at half, and we're going to score at 3/4. Okay, then we're going to flip it to the 12. We're going to score at half, and we are going to score at 6 1/4. All right, we're going to cut that little triangle or rectangle. I'm throwing stuff. I'm going to cut that little rectangle down there out at the top because we don't need it. Goodness. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to do this one a little bit differently to show you another way. So we're going to fold this over. This time I want to make sure everything lines up because my last one got a little bit squirrely on me. And I don't want that. I want this full 1/2 inch here. All right. I'm going to line this up with my score line, and no, you can't really see what I'm doing here. But this is to make sure that everything between cutting and scoring lines up better this time. Okay, there we go. So now we have this. So again, we are going to go in and we are going to cut, what did I do here? I keep having to remind myself because, you know, it is what it is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and miter these top 2 up here. Bear with me. Actually, let me see here. So if I have this like so, I was trying to think of a better way to do our spacing down here, but it works out both ways. So go ahead and do the same thing. Just put this up in your scoreboard again with that 9.5, and that 3/4 inch space here, we're just going to score at 1/4, just down to that first line. Okay, so now you have 3/4 inch lines there. You can use a cutter. I'm just going to use my scissors, and I'm going to cut that 1/4 inch off that I don't need. And then when you cut here, you're going to cut all the way up to that first score line. Okay, and I am going to miter this side and this side. So this is what you'll have. You have a 3/4, do a 1/2 and 1/4 on the bottom, 1/2 up here, and 1/2 up here. Okay. Now what you want to do is fold in your 1/2 inch up here and 1/2 inch at the top. And get those burnished. And then I just want to make sure that everything is fitting before I add my glue, and it is. So then you just simply add your glue to those tabs. Like I said, my glue is not cooperating. I think I might have a little bit of a clog. I'll have to fix that here. So you have glue on this tab and glue on this tab, and then we are simply going to fold this over. And I want to make sure, I'm going to pick this up and make sure that I'm not going over that 1/4 inch give space down there. You don't want to go past that because we need that. So. And there we go. There is our pocket. Pocket on the end, just like we had for the signature one. Just going back in and doing a little more burnishing just to flatten out my pocket nicely. Get this folded so it's ready to, I need to burnish better, obviously. This to fold. It wasn't folding for me, so just working these. This is the one that goes on our spine piece. And as you can imagine, when you have this, you want to be able to move your page, okay? All right, so side one, again, we're gonna have that flap with the pocket on it. And I don't think I made the pocket. Interesting. Better, I'm just missing a piece. So again, for the flap, you have 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to put that in at the 9 1/4, and we are going to score at 1/2 and at 5 1/4. No, at 5. I'm sorry, not 5 1/4. 5. So 9 1/4 at the top, score at 1/2, and score at 5, just like we did the first one. I'm going to fold this over and burnish. Well, fold it under. And we're going to fold this also over because this one needs to glue to the page this way. And we are going to miter this, our 1/2 inch space here. And bring in your book. Okay, and we're going to add glue to that 1/2 inch. And I said I was going to clean my nozzle on my glue, and I didn't. So let's just do that because it is clogging. All right, bring this in and try to eyeball the middle again. 1/4 inch top, 1/4 inch bottom. And that is about it right there. Okay, I'm going to add glue there, or wipe away glue there, and add any glue. Jeez. Okay, so then I need, excuse me, I need my pocket. So I'm going to cut a piece because I must have forgot the pocket. So I need a 2 1/2 by 6 1/4. I'm not quite sure where my pocket went. It's okay, we can cut a piece. Easy peasy stuff here. I just need to grab a piece of black artisan and cut it. So let's see here. We are going to go with 2.5. And 6.25 is right about, let me double check. I don't have 6.25 exactly on this, so I want to make sure that I actually get 6.25, and I did. So that was some good eyeballing. So our little pocket here is 2.5, 6.25. I'm going to put that in, and we're going to score it half. Turn, we're going to score it half, turn again, and score it half. Okay. And then we can miter at the cross section. All right, where it makes an X, if you're not sure what I mean by cross section. And then this is what you end up with. We're going to fold all of our score lines. And then that makes it so we can see if we need to do any mitering adjustments, or if this is going to fit properly. All right, so let me just double check. And it fits beautifully. And now my mitering is good. So we will go ahead and add glue to those flaps. And then I'm just simply going to bring this in. I'm going to pick up my book actually this time. Hopefully you can see I'm lining this up with the bottom of that flap all the way to the top, and as even as I can get it. All right. Give that a really good burnish. Get rid of all the excess glue. And now we have our little pocket. All right, on to side 2. Again, this is the stacked pocket system. So you have your 3 stacked pockets. So we have our 3.5 by 6 3/4. We're going to put that in at the 6 3/4 and score it half. Turn, score it half. Turn and score it half. So you're scoring it half. When I say score it half on 3 sides, that's what I mean. So 2 short sides, 1 long side. I'm just mitering all those edges. And that is our first pocket. I go in and fold on my score lines and burnish. And then I need to make sure, I need to dry fit. Make sure I don't need to adjust anything. This should fit perfectly on the page, and mine does. So I'm going to add glue to the tabs. All right, and then I'm going to pick this up. And I just want to make sure that I'm in line. You can also use your scoreboard as a guide. Get rid of any excess glue seeping out of there. And that is our first pocket. And like I said before, you could leave this at 1 pocket, 2 pockets, whatever you want to do. I'm doing 3 on mine because I'm going to be utilizing the cute little tags that come in this collection. I absolutely love them. So our second one is 3 by 6 3/4. So this one is 3 inches wide. This one we're just simply going to put in and score it half. And we're going to turn all the way around back to that 6 3/4 and score it half. Put this in and we're going to score at 2.5 just down to that line. And again, down here, we're gonna find that invisible 2.5, or you can put it in here and score at half as well. Either way, you will have that 1/2 inch little square that you need to cut out, which is what I am doing now. I'm gonna cut my squares out first. And then I can miter. And you don't have to miter the edge, I don't think. Let me test that actually theory, because I know some people don't miter that bottom one when they do stack pockets, and some do. So let's see what difference it makes if we don't. I don't know how well it will fit, but we'll see. Might be just fine. Might be better. Who knows? We will see. I did put mine on upside down, but that's okay. It's just writing. So if we slide this in, yeah, you need to, I would say mitering them is better, but I know some people do not do the mitering. Yeah, I'm going to miter. For me, it works better, so I'm just going to do it. And they will slide right in there. See? Yeah, it works better when you miter. I'm going to add glue to those 2 1/2-inch parts, the little tabs here, just like we did the last one. We just don't have a bottom one this time. And I just want to line that up with my pocket, go right to the edge. And I just want to make sure that we have the same amount. So I'm going to use my ruler as a guide. So I have just under 2.5 on that edge and just under 2.5. Let's see here. We'll go right to the top. We're at 2.5. Go right to the top. And we are at 2.5. Okay. So that one went on good. Now I can make sure that it's burnished better. I didn't do a hard burnish on that one because I wanted to make sure everything was lined up. Now, if you find that this is a little over, just grab a bone folder and you can flatten it out a little bit. Super simple. So our final pocket is the 2.5 by 6 3/4, and we're going to do the same thing we did on the last one. I'm going to score at half with our 6 3/4 across the scoreboard and at half on the other side. And then we're just going to make that 1/2 inch mark. So at the 2, and I like to find, I'm going to do it on this side, this way. Okay. And then we're just going to cut those little squares out again. Don't need those. All right, and miter. And miter. And then miter your tops. And that's what you will have. I'm just going to set that in there, make sure everything fits, and it does. So we can go ahead and fold our score lines down and burnish. Add glue to those 2 tabs. And slide this one in, the last one. And if you put this in right to where you can see your mitering, you should get it in pretty straight every time. And I am just making sure I've got 2 inches and 2 inches. And then I can burnish. All right, so that is our signature 3. I'll go ahead and put this on there. And then signature 4, our final signature, is going to be the same as signature 1. No, the same as signature 2, sorry. So this is the one that we're going to have our waterfall and our flaps. Your last one, you have your base at 12 by 5 3/4. Again, this is the same as signature 2. So signature 4 is a mirror of signature 2. You're going to put this in with your 12 across the top, and we're going to score this at 1/2 and at 3/4 and at 9 1/2. Okay? You're going to fold that last 2 1/2 inches where we scored at 9 1/2 back, and that's going to be the pocket on the back side. And then you'll have this. For your flaps, again, we're going to have 2. We're going to start with the one that goes on the right, 6 1/4 by 5 3/4. So 6 1/4 wide, 5 3/4 tall. I'm going to put this in our scoreboard, and we are going to score this at 5 3/4 so that our 1/2 inch is on the right. Okay? And I'm going to fold and burnish that down. And I will put that, we'll put glue on that 1/2 inch tab. And this one is the same width, so make sure you're on the side with the pocket. On the other, the little flap that we made. So at the end, line all this up. And then I am going to burnish. Oops, mine slid a little. I don't need paper slippage here. All right. Go ahead and burnish all that out. And then your smaller flap, you have 5 3/4 by 5 1/4. We're going to put that in with the 5 3/4, and we're going to score at 1/2. This one we're going to miter on the sides of where we scored that 1/2 inch. And then you're going to fold this over, burnish, add glue to that 1/2 inch. And this time I'm going to bring this in with the side with our 1/2 inch and our 1/4 inch, and I'm going to bring this right in the middle and up to my 1/4 inch. Not on top of it, but up to it. And that leaves about 1/4 inch at the top and 1/4 inch at the bottom. Just want to make sure that's nice and straight. And then you can burnish. Do not go over that line though. If you go over your line, you won't have your 1/4 inch give space anymore. We want to make sure that we keep that. All right. And now we'll add our magnet. So again, I'm using the basic gray smalls. I'm going to grab a plus and a minus, and we'll put those. They went together the wrong way, but I can fix that. There we go. So we're going to put our first one. I'm going to peel the backing off. I just like to put mine together. And then I will open this flap up, the smaller flap. Place this about 1 inch from the edge. And peel the backing of the plus off. I'm going to open up my large flap. And then I'm simply going to just push this down and push down on that magnet so that it sticks down there. And that's what you will have. Okay. Now we need to put our gussets in for our pocket. Again, these are 2 inches by 2 1/2 inches. And we're going to score these at 1/2 with that 1 inch across the top. We're just simply making some little gussets here. They don't have to be fancy. This one actually got a little bit bigger, I think, than 1 inch because So I'm going to trim mine because I don't want it bigger than 1 inch. And then I'm going to miter. Now you don't have to miter both sides. You can put the flat edge at the end, and that's what I'm going to do this time. The last one we did, I actually mitered both sides and I didn't need to. It doesn't hurt if you do, but you don't have to. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish these really well. And simply grab one and add glue. All right, so we're just going to add glue to that tab to one side. And you just want to hold up your pocket. Now, I like to use my scoreboard like I showed in the first one. Hold this up and then set this right down in there. And then you can see, you make sure you go above the score line though, because you don't want it to get stuck. Then you can see if it's too long or not, which mine is not. That one's going to work out fine. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish that, and then I'll do the other side. And I need this side glued. Flip this around and hold this up. Okay. Whoa, it slid. Let's not have that. Gotta make sure everything opens and closes. And then once you get a good burnish on that, just go ahead and add glue to the other part of the tab there. And we will put our pocket down. And that's going to gusset the pocket so that it has more room. Like so. Easy peasy stuff. Okay. So then we have our waterfall. Again, this is a 9.5 by 5 1/4, an 8.5 by 5 1/4, and a 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and this time I'm going to do the other one correctly. So I'm going to put this in, and I already have my did I do that right? Yes. Okay. I folded over my area here, so I have that 1 inch on the back. And we're just going to add glue to that space, just in that area. You don't want glue anywhere else. And then, so you'll have this. You'll see that space there. This lines up with the 3 3/4, so we're going to go over to 4 1/4 and set that down nice and straight. And burnish that, and I'm probably getting glue all over my scoreboard. And then the other one, last time I put it in there wrong. We're not going to do that this time. We are going to do this the correct way. We are going to put this in so this is right on this side. So we're just going to fold this down, just like we did the bigger ones. Put glue on your tab there, your 1/2 inch, and simply make sure I'm doing this right. I feel like I'm not doing it right. But I want, okay, it's going to be upside down for this, but that's okay. So we just want to bring this one in so it butts up next to that score, that last score line. And then this side of it will end up being right at that 4 3/4 mark. Okay, so you just want to line this up nice and straight. And make sure, there we go. And then you can fold these back. You want to fold this one back and get it nice and straight. And this one is already folded, but we'll go ahead and burnish it again. And then we're going to go back again. Fold these over. Pull this one down. And then fold our last one down. And there is our other waterfall now. And again, that goes on your page right here. You just glue this area and put that on your page, and then we will simply put a photo mat in this pocket that will hold that down. And I'm going to go ahead and paper clip this and put it aside. And that is our 4 signatures. The next thing I'm going to do is show you what we will be putting on the inside, front, and back covers. What I've done here is I've put a magnet closure, and there will be a photo mat in this pocket, and just matted that up. So what you need for that, I'm going to move this over so that you can see this page. You will need your paper for your matting, of course, and I have cut mine so it doesn't go all the way under. The blue does, however, this does not. And this is Oceanside, my colors that I'm using. So first you need a piece of the Artisan that is 10.5 long, 2 inches wide, and you're going to score that at 2 inches on one end. So let me just grab my scoreboard here because we're going to need it in a minute for the pocket as well. So we're going to score this at 2. Okay, set that aside. Then you're going to have a piece that is 7 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay, put that in your scoreboard with the 7 across the top. We're going to score this at half on 3 sides. So we're going to turn so that the 4.5 is up here. We're going to score at half. Turn again so that your 7 is up here and score at half. Okay, easy peasy stuff. Then we're just going to miter at the cross section where we did our score, and at the tops, and this is what you will have. Okay, I'm going to set my scoreboard out of the way for a moment, and I am just going to get these score lines of my pocket all folded nicely and burnished. And I'm going to set that aside. I am going to grab that 2-inch piece that we scored at 2 inches at the bottom. And I'm going to fold that over, and I am going to burnish that as well. Now, this is going to be put in the middle over here. And I don't have my glue, I just realized. I need that. All right, pull this. My glue pen is kind of stuck in the bottle today. Lovely start to a morning. Okay, so we're going to glue that little 2-inch square that's folded over, which is our gusset. Now, I did this at 2 inches because I just wanted the added strength. If you just put a 1/2 inch here, you're going to be moving this a lot. It's just better to have a little bit longer. Now the middle, I'm going to use this ruler here to figure out right where my middle is. And pull this back. All right. And then I can simply put this right up there and know that I'm in the middle. Okay. Make sure that does not go over your edge. And then we're just going to burnish that. All right, now we can lay down our other papers. So we're going to lay down the blue first. So I'm just going to put glue on this, and then I will give you the measurement of this. It will be 1/8 of an inch both ways, shorter than our book. All right, so let me put this down and then I'm gonna. And I like to put mine, just in case I cut, which I did, I cut this a little short because we have a pocket going over here. So I like to line it up with this edge rather than this edge, because as you can see, I cut mine a little shorter. If you want it to go all the way up to the edge, it would be, let me just burnish that. I made mine 9 1/4, but 9 1/2 would go up to the edge a little more. And it is 5 7/8 inches tall. Okay, so I have that on there. Now we're gonna put our, this, I use the, it's kind of a tattersall pattern. And this piece, so that it makes sure it goes under the pocket, is 5 3/4 by 6. Okay. So I'm going to glue this down. And this was, the back one was done exactly the same way that we're doing this one. So again, I'm going to line this up over to the left. All right, that's on there. Make sure I don't have any glue seeping out anywhere. And I don't. Give that a nice burnish. Then we're going to grab our pocket. And I'm going to apply glue just to the bottom gusset first. And I will show you why in just a moment. Again, I don't want to go, as you can see with this one, I didn't go into my spine. So what I like to do when I put a pocket on next to a spine is I will set the pocket down, making sure it's lined up, and then open my book just to make sure that pocket is not going to set too close to the spine and cause a problem with opening and closing of the book. So once you have that all nice and lined up, go ahead and burnish that bottom gusset. And then I am going to take a piece of Scotch tape and I am just going to run it along that gusset. This is just going to make it easier for stuff. I'm sure you've seen the tape trick. It just makes it easier for stuff to go in and out of your pockets. It is optional. You don't have to do this. Then we're going to add our glue. I gotta push my gussets down here. I'm going to add our glue to the side gussets. And then we can just simply put those down. And just make sure everything is lining up nice and neatly before you press down too much, because we don't want a puckered pocket. And there we go, nice and flat. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you where our magnets are going to go. But first, make sure all of this is in frame. So you have your belly band that's going to close. We want to make sure this is nice and straight. If it's not, before you get your magnets going, just go back in and work it with a bone folder just to make sure everything lines up. So what I have here is one of the 4x4s, one of the elements, and then I used the white 65-pound smooth at 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then black artisan that is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. We will have one more piece of 4 1/8 by 4 1/8 of the smooth cardstock that we will put on this after. So now what you want to do is you want to grab your 4x4 once it's assembled, figure out right about where you want it to land. And mine on this side, I did at about an inch. It is about a little more than an inch from the bottom and top. So right about here looks good to me. I am going to grab a pencil and I am just going to draw a line right next to it on that belly band. I don't know if you can see that pencil mark right there. Okay. Now what I want to do is add glue from that pencil mark over. I don't want glue anywhere else. Okay, then I'm going to grab my magnet, and I'm having a little bit of a rough time because I had to go put a band-aid on my finger because I discovered that I punctured my thumb with my glue pen. So yeah, not the funnest thing. And I think I just did that backwards. I did, didn't I? Yeah. So we're going to put our magnet just about, I would say, an inch and a half down from the tip of this. Just set that in your glue. And then grab your second magnet, this one here, and put it so that it's on the back side. It'll automatically stick, okay? Grab your element, and I just go a little past that drawn on line so that I don't have to erase it. Just a little shortcut there. Line this up nice and straight. And then I'm going to flip this open, and I am going to burnish that glue down on that 4x4 that we just placed. Then what you want to do is grab the backing off of the second magnet, the one that's stuck here to the back. Pull in your book, pull on this nice and tight, and then push down your magnet, and that will leave that magnet right there. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is very wonky. We're going to add paper to that, some thicker paper. But first, I'm going to add this piece to my pocket, which is 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. And I'm going to make sure, I'm going to dry fit it really quick, just to make sure it fits the way I like. All right, looks good. Clean that up. Definitely got some glue coming out of there. That tape is making all kinds of noise down there. You really got to burnish that tape. All right. So now we are going to move this over, if I can. I have a stand over here that kind of holds things up. Grab that other 4 1/8 by 4 1/8 piece of white. Again, mine is the 65-pound smooth. And that goes on the back. Now you could put a picture on this as well, so it gives you kind of an extra little photo mat spot. All right. that is on there. I need to make sure that I measured these correctly, and I did. So I have some of the granite, which is the kind of shiny My Colors that was in my design team package. Our little belly bands here are 2, and there is about 4 5/8 left over between this. Let's go from here. Yeah. So what I cut these to is 4.5. All right. So these are 1 7/8 tall this way, 4.5 wide. And these are, the My Colors is a thicker cardstock. So it will give you some more sturdiness on this belly band that will be opened and closed several times. So we want to give that a little bit of black showing on both sides. And clean that up. And now we're going to flip that closed. You can already tell it's getting a little sturdier. I have the same size for this side. Again, 4.5 by 1 7/8. All right. So let's go to the cover. I just want to show you and give you measurements of what I used for my cover. So the cover, I'm going to have some trim over here is why you see this emptiness. If you don't want to put trim on it, you could cut your papers to the full length. So mine, for what I have here, because I have 3/4 of an inch of space on both the front and the back, because I'm going to add trim. So my papers are, the white smooth is 8 7/8 by 5 7/8. The yellow is 8 3/4 by 5 3/4. The red is 8 5/8 by 5 5/8. And then my decorative papers were pieced together. But this main one here is 5 3/4 and 5.5 tall. And then I have a strip of the blue, and a strip of this. Now, if you wanted to make, and the back is exactly the same. If you wanted to put just paper on here with no trim, you would just make these 3/4 of an inch bigger. So you would want to go with 9, well, we're 9 3/4, so you would go with 9 5/8 by 5 7/8, and then go 1/8 of an inch smaller this way from each one, okay? Then the spine, I have 1 7/8 by 5 7/8 of the white, 1 3/4 by 5 3/4 of the yellow, 1 5/8 by 5 5/8 of the red, and 1.5 by 5.5 of the decorative paper. I simply used some of the seam bindings that I received in my design team package for the covers, and these are glued underneath of my papers, and I did 2 side by side, so I had both of those colors of blue. Now I made kind of a film strip as a belly band on one of my pages, and I used my We Are Memory Keepers cinch for that. If you don't have a cinch, don't fret. You can use a hole punch and make circular punches. You can use whatever you want, or you can just simply put a regular belly band on there. But I did want to show you, if you have a cinch, how I made mine. So I have the mini cinch, and I have my guide in the B slot to start, and I have a 2.5 by 9 1/4 strip of paper. Okay, and this is Black Artisan. I am going to go in And I'm simply going to do this as if I was making a book, just as you would do. And I want to take that out first, huh? Just as you would do this for a regular project that you are doing for cinch. Now, if you are using a hole punch, I would suggest measuring all the way down each side. And I really didn't need to go all the way to the end of this. I just did. Because we're going to round this off and it's going to go underneath of our... Get those lined up. I did. What do you know? I will show you in just a second. Get these holes punched. And I am not going to worry. I did it anyways. Well, that's okay. All right. So I'm going to put the cinch away and show you what that gave me. So that gives you what looks like a film strip. And I've done this a couple of times in the book. I have a strip on the back of the outside of the cover that I did this with. And like I said, you can just as easily take, I'm going to grab a scrap of paper here. And this one's obviously much skinnier. And I have a smaller hole punch. And you can go along, if you have the Tim Holtz ruler, it has the little holes in it, you could go in with a pencil so that you get exact markings. But anything you do, this is a really small hole, but you can do it in circles. You could, like I said, simply just make a 2.5 by 9 1/4 belly band. So what I'm going to do with this is grab my scoreboard really quick. And I want to take this one. I'm going to measure it up because I don't remember. It looks like it was about an inch that I did. I didn't want to do 1/2 inch because I want there to be some strength in the belly band. So I am simply going to score this at 1 inch and fold it over. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a corner rounder, and I am going to round these two corners. It makes it a little easier to slide in that pocket. And let me grab the other one that goes to this. This would be this one. Now, I did put, for this page, this one does not have a magnet, but this one does. I added a magnet, so you can do that. So I have a magnet here under the Mickey Mouse paper, and I have a magnet here under this paper, okay? So if I wanted to add this, I will put glue here. I'm going to go ahead and do that so I can show you. We want to put glue on the underside of that 1 inch space that we made. Okay, and I'm going to pull my photo mat out of here to make it a little easier. So I just simply want to slide this in and then kind of center it. And that looks good. And then just burnish it down so that it sticks to that top area there. I have a little extra glue. Now you can add paper to the top of this if you want. I didn't, but you can. And it just adds that little film strip element that I thought was cute. It's definitely an option. Doesn't have to be something you do. And it doesn't have to go in the pocket either. You can just slide it under if you want. On this one, you need it because this is what's holding our little flap closed on signature 1. Signature 3, I put a magnet in. Okay? So let me put my photo mat back in there really quick, and I will go over all of my photo mats and their sizing in my walkthrough at the very end. So now what I want to do is put the waterfalls in. So I am going to get to those pages. So for signature 2, we're going to have a waterfall. And for signature 4, we're also going to have a waterfall. So I'm going to pull my photo mats that I made. These are going to act as stays for the waterfalls. And I have already we've already made the waterfalls, and I've already papered mine. I decorated them. So each one of our waterfalls was let me measure here, 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So the paper I used is 3 5/8 by 5 1/8. All right, so we made our waterfall. We have that little area in the back. We are just simply going to add glue just to that area. Like so. And then I'm going to grab one of my signatures. I have 2 signatures with waterfalls. And I am just simply going to put this. I don't want mine all the way to the top. So I'm going to go in and I am going to smooth that all out. All right, so there's our waterfall. And let me see here. This is the one that goes here. And then we just slide our photo mat in and it holds that waterfall closed. Easy peasy stuff, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put the other one on. That was on this signature, and it's the same thing. We're just gonna add glue to that section in the back, and this one I'm gonna have to add some paper or something because I wrote on it with white ink and then I did not cover it, and that happens sometimes. I forget. All right, I'm going to put this up in here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it down just a little bit, leaving a little space, side to side and top to bottom. Trying to get it in there straight, though. All right, go through, burnish each 1/2 inch section. Just make sure that glue sticks. What I'll probably do is I'll just go back in and add white paper, the thin 65-pound smooth to the backs of these, because there's a couple of them that I had written on. And then I have this photo mat, slides right in there and holds it down. Okay, and this one keeps coming out of here. All right, so I already have one signature in the book. All of my signatures have been previously decorated, so you will see them as we go. So our next signature I will show you. So on the spine, these 1/2 inch gussets, I put 1/4 inch score tape. And I don't put it all the way to the bottom. I put it closer to the top of the gusset. And I am going to grab a pokey tool here. I'm going to start with this one here. I've already got my 4th signature in, but we're going to go to signature 3, which is this guy here. We have our 1/2 inch and then our 1/4 inch give. That 1/2 inch needs to go onto this gusset, but don't be afraid to leave it out just a little from the spine. You don't have to push it all the way down. And I forgot, I need to add glue. I like to add a little bit of glue to the score tape as well, just because added structure. It makes it a little stronger of a hold, and I prefer that. So what I like to do is stick this down and make sure it's even, and then I want to line it up with the last signature I put in the book, just to make sure, because sometimes, you know, our gussets can get off kilter when we're putting our spine piece in, and you just want to make sure that your signatures line up. It's very important. All right, I am going to go in and burnish that. And that looks good. And we'll go on to signature 2. I'm going to do it the exact same way. We're just going to peel off that tape and add a bit of glue, which mine is very gunky today. And we will move on to signature 2. I just realized that my signature 2 does not have the gussets bent, and I kind of need that so that it moves nicely. All right, we're gonna do the same thing. Just set it down on the glue. I usually will stick my finger up at the top of this gusset so that I can hold the album page in place while I'm gluing. Make sure that lines up, and it does. And then I should be able to flip that over, and it's much easier to burnish from this side. Okay, last one. Making sure everything lines up, and it does. So we are good there. Push that down with a finger, and then I will give it a better burnish on the back side. So that is my album, how you put the pages in. Now